love the beautiful way in which you've been giving, sort of paying tribute to her all through, even till today. You to her book, which is a fantastic book, and then having this movie made. I don't know whether your idea or somebody else's idea, but so in many ways you kept her memory alive and you've been honoring her, which I thought was a really very powerful and beautiful way to cherish the memory of her. And I somehow feel, I don't know why I feel, but I know she's sitting there and smiling, saying, "Thank you, Dad," because nobody does for you.
Well, I think when she was about to die, she died in my arms and my son's arms. Aditi could not be in the room because it was very heartbreaking, and she died in that room right in the house. And before she passed away, she held my hand and she had tears in her eyes, and she said to me, "Please save me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And I felt that the only way I can bring her back to life is by talking about her, by honoring her, by helping people also discover the magic of Aisha, because that's how she'll come alive in the hearts of millions of people across the world. And that's what I strive to do.
I really applaud you for that. I mean, you inspired so many people. She's inspired so many people. I've shown that video of hers, ink conversation, countless times. And I don't know, this is the greatest thing I admire you for, more than I admire you for your success in the world. The way that you've been an incredible father, the way Aditya has been an incredible mother, the way Sam has been an incredible brother. I mean, you guys are you're the epitome of what is a very loving family. I mean, hats off to you, sir, truly.
Thank you.
Uh, in closing, just two, three questions, which is who inspired you all these years? Different people must have inspired you across your journey because you've had very, very varied journeys, right? You must have had numbers of people who inspired you, or a number of books. Would you like to share what who inspired you, what inspired you?
I think many people inspire me. I think I see something to learn from almost anybody that I meet. It could be humanity, compassion, kindness, empathy, intellect. Um, but there are a few people who really stand out. And I think one of the most inspiring people for me who's had enormous influence on me and my working life has been David Novak, who is the founder chairman of Yum Restaurants. I worked with him in the same company for about 24 years, and he was my mentor and the person who gave me all the opportunities. And we had a deep friendship and love. And uh, I admired him for many things, but most of all for his humanity,
Hmm.
not his intellect, not his strategic ability, just his humanity. And
In what way? What will and what how would
the I think the best way I can share that with you is when Aisha passed away. Within 24 hours, there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and David Novak was standing here. Um Turned out he'd taken 3 commercial flights from the US to come and see me immediately. He couldn't take his normal private jet. He came in, he hugged me, he cried, I cried, and then we cried some more. He turned around and he left and took 3 planes and went all the way back. He came only to be with me and to tell me he was with me in that hour of need and that hour of hurt. And I will never, ever forget that. And I think from that, I learned that when one looks at, how can one inspire other human beings? I think inspiration comes from only by being human
you
and by being compassionate, by being empathetic. It doesn't come through intellect. You have to have certain base level intellect. But I think we are all human beings. We're feeling beings. We are, spiritual beings. And I think when we feel that we are being understood and nurtured and cared for and loved, that's when we want to do more than is even possible to the person who gives us that. And I, having learned from that, that's how I aspire to also connect with people I work with and connect with to do similarly and care for them in in the same fashion that I learned from David.
Apart from David, who else inspired you?
Oh, there are many people. There's Peter Half, who's the chairman of JAB, the investment fund I work at. And before I joined JAB, he's one of the most talented, successful business executives in the world. When I met him, uh, he had heard about Aisha, and I hadn't quite heard about his story. And my interview was all about heartbreak and loss. He'd lost his wife, also to a rare form of blood cancer, and she was not able to get a bone marrow donor in time. Same situation with Aisha, which is why her lungs eventually gave way. So we just met and we just hugged and cried and connected as two humans who had lost so much. And we just said we have to work together and do amazing things. And he inspires me because he is so incredibly successful, and yet he's taken the time to create an organization called DKMS. I'm on the board of that company. It is the world's largest bone marrow registry. And I would request your listeners to look up dkms.com and register. And then they will send you a kit. You basically take a mouth swab and send it back. And then your DNA will get into the database. And if a child needs to be saved in the future, DKMS can help connect the donor and the donee. So I would say those two people have probably impacted me the most. Once again, it is his humanity and compassion and desire to do something to save lives. So I'm always drawn to people who have that humanistic side to the way in which they lead.
And I think that all through whatever you said, your parents have been incredibly much of a deep inspiration to you.
Yeah.
That came through in the beginning.
Yeah.
It goes without saying, in fact. The whole idea of this is to spread, hope that 10, 20, 100 people, youngsters, may be influenced or inspired by this conversation. If you had to give advice of some kind or a suggestion, what would you say to somebody who is like 29? What would you say to that youngster in the Taj Palace Hotel, your older self?
Younger self, you
Old, yeah, your younger self, right?
Yeah.
Your younger 26-year-old self. What would you tell him to be? What would you ask him to? Anything that you would like to say to him?
Yeah. So I would like to say to all the aspiring leaders, I would say the following. One, I think leadership is a privilege. And it's a privilege because you have the unique opportunity to be a force multiplier for good in this world. So as you think about success as being a multi-dimensional opportunity to impact people, community, planet, and enterprise. So I would ask you to seriously consider the privilege of leadership and the opportunity to impact. And I would like to say three things that I wish I knew when I was growing up. One is leadership is about two things. It's about character and competence. I believe that we spend a huge amount of time building our competence when in fact character potentially is even more important. And therefore, I would request you to spend a lot of time thinking about building the strength of your character, which in turn requires you to have clarity of your values, who you are, who do you want to be, what's your moral compass, how will you decide what is right and what is wrong. The second thing is that be a lifelong learner. I have asked many successful leaders if there was one thing that differentiated high performers from those who did not perform that well, it is this attribute, which is to be a lifelong learner. We know that. And therefore, I'll give you something more, which is it's not enough to just learn, you have to then unlearn what you have learned and then relearn what you need to learn. And that learning is a virtuous cycle of learning, unlearning, and relearning all the time, because what you have learned may not stay relevant for very long. And the third thing I would say is seek adventure. Every time that there's an opportunity that comes knocking at your door, don't shut it off and look for reasons why you should not do it, such as it's too far, it's a different country, I don't speak the language, or I don't want to relocate. Think of saying yes to opportunity. Because I have found by doing that, I have lived in 6 cities, worked across 50 countries, and have been much richer because of the experiences that I've had and the adventures that I've had the courage to take. So that's what I would like to say to you.
Thank you so much. God bless.